Imagine the crack of thunder echoing across a frozen tundra, where the wind howls like a wounded beast and the ground is blanketed in unforgiving ice. It's 45,000 years ago, deep in the heart of what we now call Europe, a world of endless winters, towering mammoths and shadowed caves that whisper secrets of survival. In this brutal landscape, a group of figures huddles around a flickering fire, their silhouettes etched against the dying light. But these aren't the hulking brutes of old myths. Among them are women, fierce, unyielding, their muscles coiled like springs, eyes sharp as flint blades. They aren't waiting for rescue or handouts. They're the architects of life itself, wielding spears, crafting tools, and defying the elements that could crush lesser souls. Welcome to the true story of prehistoric women, the unsung warriors of the Stone Age. If you think our ancient past was all about men dominating the hunt, prepare to have your world shattered. Stick with me through this epic journey into the icebound realms of Neanderthals and Cro-Magnons, and you'll discover how these women weren't just survivors, they were the heartbeat of humanity's dawn. By the end, you'll see echoes of their strength in our modern world, and a lesson that could change how you view resilience today. Now let's plunge into this prehistoric saga, focusing on the raw, untamed story of life in those ancient times. We'll weave through the forests and mountains, exploring how these women adapted, thrived, and shaped the very fabric of existence. This isn't about one hero, it's about the collective pulse of an era where every day was a battle against extinction. Picture the vast expanses of Ice Age Europe, where glaciers carved the land like giant claws. The climate was a merciless tyrant, bitter cold snaps alternating with brief thaws, forcing every living thing to evolve or perish. Neanderthals, those stocky guardians of the North, had bodies forged in this forge of adversity. Their women in particular embodied a symphony of adaptations that scream efficiency and power. Standing around 1.5 to 1.6 meters tall, they were built like fortresses, short limbs to conserve heat, broad chests for massive lung capacity, and bones denser than oak. Bergmann's rule, that evolutionary principle where body size increases in colder climates to minimize heat loss, was at play here. But it wasn't just size, it was the intricate dance of genetics and environment. From the fossil records, like the Gibraltar I skull, unearthed in 1848 at Forbes Quarry, a female Neanderthal with a brain case of about 1,300 cubic centimeters, we see a creature optimized for endurance. Her brow ridges weren't mere decorations. They anchored powerful jaw muscles for chewing tough, fibrous foods like raw meat and roots. And those necks? Thick as tree trunks, supporting elongated skulls that house brains rivaling ours in size, if not always in structure. My analysis here, this wasn't brute force without finesse. Neanderthal women likely had higher testosterone levels, as inferred from male counterparts and bone density studies, fueling muscle growth that made them grappling masters. Imagine squatting for hours, a common posture evidenced by lower limb variations in fossils, while scraping hides or tending fires. It's a posture that recalls ancestral remnants in some modern indigenous groups, but amplified in the Neanderthal frame. Contrast this with the Cro-Magnons, those lithe invaders from warmer African climes who arrived around 40,000 years ago. Their women towered at 1.6 to 1.7 meters, with slimmer builds, longer limbs, and a grace that spoke of agility over raw power. Skeletal remains from sites like the Cro-Magnon rock shelter in France show broader faces and larger teeth, but with a tropical heritage that made them less stocky than their Neanderthal neighbors. Here, Allen's rule comes in: longer limbs for heat dissipation in hotter origins, now tested in Europe's chill. They had brains averaging 1,600 cubic centimeters, bigger than today's average, perhaps wired for the innovative bursts that led to advanced tools and art. But why the differences? Evolutionary pressures sculpted them apart. Neanderthals, diverging from our lineage no earlier than 500,000 years ago, hunkered down in Eurasia's cold grip, developing a metabolism geared for high-protein diets. Think feasting on woolly rhinos and bison. They're women with 10% more muscle mass than modern European men, as seen in Laferasi-II's remains from 1909, could haul carcasses weighing hundreds of kilos up steep slopes. Personal insight: this strength wasn't accidental. It was a response to small group sizes where everyone, man, woman, child, pitched in. Fossil injuries on female bones mirror those of male hunters, fractures from close quarters combat with prey, suggesting no gender divide in the hunt. Cro-Magnons, meanwhile, brought stamina from their migratory paths, excelling in pursuits that required endurance running, perhaps chasing deer across open plains. Delve deeper into daily life and the story unfolds like a tapestry of survival. In Neanderthal camps, nestled in forest marshes or cave mouths, women weren't sidelined. They dragged beavers from lodges for pelts, using birch tar glue to craft waterproof clothing, seams so strong they rival modern adhesives. Tools like Mousterian scrapers, found at sites like La Quina, bear wear patterns from hide working, a task demanding grip strength akin to elite athletes. Analysis: this reflects a society where reproduction and labor intertwine seamlessly. With larger pelvises and lower centers of gravity, Neanderthal women were natural grapplers, perhaps wrestling prey or rivals. Childbirth, though challenging due to robust builds, was aided by communal support, as evidenced by fetal remains at Laferasi. Cro-Magnon women, in their Aurignacian world, wove innovation into the narrative. They fashioned eyed needles from bone, artifacts from 28,000 years ago indicating tailored clothing for layered warmth. Their art, like Venus figurines from Willendorf, might symbolize fertility but also strength, exaggerated hips and breasts speaking to endurance in harsh times. New insight from recent studies? These women gathered not just berries but medicinal plants, using atlatls for hunting small game, blurring lines between roles. As climates shifted, glaciers retreating, forests encroaching, these groups clashed and mingled. Interbreeding, around 47,000 to 65,000 years ago based on recent genetic models, left a legacy, 1 to 4% Neanderthal DNA in non-African modern humans, influencing traits like immune responses and skin pigmentation for UV adaptation. But it was directional. Modern males with Neanderthal females, per computational analyses, perhaps due to social dynamics or viability. Hypothetical scenes paint the picture. A Neanderthal woman, call her the forest sentinel, crouches in ambush, her dense arms hurling a spear into a stag's flank. Blood sprays as she closes in, stamina waning but strength prevailing. Nearby, a Cro-Magnon wanderer, the plain strider, pursues a herd with relentless pace, her longer legs eating ground. Commentary: these aren't isolated tales. They're patterns from fossils like a Mood-9, a female Neanderthal from Israel, showing healed injuries from active life. Expanding on adaptations. Neanderthals' larger nasal cavities meant deeper, resonant voices, perhaps guttural speech with FOXP2 gene, enabling complex sounds. Reconstructed proto-languages suggest words like tas for hunter, fitting a direct, survival-focused lexicon. Cro-Magnons with similar hyoids likely chattered in Proto-Indo-European roots, coordinating larger groups. Before we wrap this prehistoric odyssey, let's bridge to the vivid and relatable with real-life stories. Take modern athlete Shauna Coxey, a British rock climber whose grip strength echoes Neanderthal forearms. Training on overhanging walls, she hauls her body weight like those ancient women dragging mammoths. Or consider Inuit hunters like Alethea Arnaquuk Baril, whose traditional lifestyle involves spearing seals, mirroring Cro-Magnon agility in icy pursuits. In 2023, a study of Peruvian highlanders showed women with denser bones from manual labor, akin to prehistoric farming transitions. Even Olympian rowers from Cambridge University, whose arm strength pales against Bronze Age women's 30% superior metrics, highlight how our sedentary lives have softened us. These examples aren't coincidences, they're echoes of evolutionary gifts, like Neanderthal alleles boosting immunity in today's Europeans against pathogens. The Neanderthal woman did not think in words, not in the way modern minds do. Her thoughts came in sensations, the pressure in her hands, the scent of blood on stone, the rhythm of footsteps moving through snow. Her world was not silent, but it did not chatter. It spoke through movement, through change, the shift of the wind against her cheek, the crack of a distant branch, the angle of light on cave walls. And the Neanderthal woman listened, always. Her shoulders bore weight, not just from the hides she carried or the stones she sharpened, but from the lives that gathered around her. A child clung to her hip as she walked. An elder leaned on her arm when the air thinned in the mountain pass. When danger came, boar, wolf, winter, she did not run. The Neanderthal woman moved forward. Once a mammoth had fallen by her hand. Not alone, but it was the Neanderthal woman's spear that struck first, her body that slammed into the beast's collapsing frame. When they cut it open, her fingers disappeared into the steaming cavity to pull warmth from the kill. Her forearms, corded and scarred, moved with a precision earned only by necessity. Others remembered the Neanderthal woman not for her voice, she rarely used it, but for her silence. When a child wailed, she was the one who carried it away from the fire and rocked it under the stars. When a hunter's legs shattered on the cliffs, she stayed beside him until the breath left his body. Even in pain, the Neanderthal woman worked. A fractured arm, a split brow, ribs bruised from the kick of a panicked reindeer. None of it slowed her for long. Wounds crusted and healed, bones ached, and still she woke before the rest to stoke the fire. There was no ceremony for her strength, no murals on cave walls bearing her name. But when the Neanderthal woman sat by the fire, eyes reflecting the orange flicker, the younger ones leaned closer. They mimicked the way she held a blade. They watched how she cleaned sinew, how she listened to the wind before choosing a path. And when the Neanderthal woman died, they did not speak. They placed a stone in her palm, wrapped her in fur, and carved a shallow hollow in the earth. Snow fell as they covered her body, no monument, just a place where silence gathered and was respected. And so, as the fire dims in our ancient cave, what takeaway lingers from these prehistoric women? We learn that strength isn't gendered, it's forged in necessity. Adaptability, the true key to survival. In our modern world of desks and screens, embrace their legacy. Challenge roles, build resilience, and remember, humanity thrives when all contribute. Until next time, stay curious about the past. It holds the map to our future.